Reselling advice that I want to scream from the rooftops after 9 years of experience. This is part 2 of a series where I talk to you and tell you things that have made a dramatic impact on my business as I went from 0 to 6 figures. They are not subtle hints or tips, but the exact things that cause my business to grow in a big way. Number 1 is you need the right people around you. Now, for resellers, that might be the people that are physically around you, your friends and family, or even people online that you talk to every day, but it's also the people that you regularly watch. Have you ever heard the saying that you are the average of the 5 closest people around you? It's because you're taking their ideas, their feedback, and their affirmations from according to what they believe is right or wrong. Whatever their standards are also affect yours. And if this is true that you're the average of the 5 people closest to you, then the people that you listen to the most are the ones that are shaping your views about your own abilities and your business. It is so important for you to have people around you who have similar goals as yours or higher goals than yours. In other words, people who are doing the same or better than you. You don't just need people around you who are similar to you and are going to affirm everything that you say, but you also need others to look up to see that something better is possible. And speaking of, having a mentor is a hack. One of those people that you look up to could be a mentor to you, someone who is already doing what you want to do, and be able to ask them questions in order to fast track and sidestep all of the mistakes. They've already been in your shoes, they already know the mistakes that happen, and they also know how to avoid them altogether and can tell you what to do instead. How to get to the goalpost faster, and what actually moves the needle. Studies show that entrepreneurs who are mentored by top performing entrepreneurs are 3 times more likely to become top performing entrepreneurs themselves. I think sometimes we see asking for help or finding a mentor as a sign of weakness, or maybe you're like me and you're just so stubborn and you want to figure out how to do everything on your own. But I can promise you that I tried that and spent years on YouTube University when I could have just spent weeks learning the information that I know now. And a mentor doesn't have to be necessarily in the reselling space. Maybe you know somebody who successfully runs their own business and is a top performer. Get a mentor if you want to reach your goals faster and avoid the costly mistakes that you're definitely going to make by not having one. Next is that reaching your goals is simply a math problem. Anything that you want can be reverse engineered. And once you break it down into smaller numbers, you'll often realize that it's not that big of a deal. Most resellers know what they need to do, they just don't want to do it after they figure out the formula. Or they're too afraid to face the reality of what it would take to achieve their goals. Most of the time, when you break these down into daily and weekly goals, instead, it's a lot easier to swallow. For instance, if I told you that this year you needed to give yourself a raise of $7,300, you'd be thinking, well, that sounds like a lot of money and I just can't make this happen. But if I said, hey, you need to just sell 1 more item per day at a net profit of $20, well, that seems easier, right? The truth is that you're not going to be a winner overnight, but it's the day-to-day things that we do that add up to big wins. And what if I told you that the only way to lose in this reselling game is to stop playing the game? I want to tell you a story that I heard a content creator that I watch completely outside of the reselling space that changed my perspective. I'm going to call this the dice theory, and I'm going to read this step by step so I get it right. Imagine that you and a friend are playing a dice rolling game. You are each given 1 die. One of the die has 20 sides and the other has 200. On each die, only 1 side is green and the rest are red. The point of the game is simple. Roll green as many times as you can. The rules of the game are as follows. You can't see how many sides you have. You can only see if you roll red or green. If you roll green, one of your red sides turns green and you get to roll again. If you roll red, nothing happens and you get to roll again. The game ends when you stop rolling. And if you stop rolling, you lose. So what do? You roll. When you roll red, you pick up the die and roll again. When others roll green, you pick up your die and roll again. When you roll green, you pick up the die and roll again. You keep telling yourself one thing. The more I roll, the more greens I get. At first, you roll green once in a while, but as the red sides turn green, the greens happen more. With enough rolls, hitting green becomes the rule rather than the exception. What does your friend do? He rolls a few times and hits red each time. He sees you roll a green and complains that you must have a die with fewer sides. He reasons it's the only way that you could have rolled green before him. And although you did, you also rolled many more times. So which is it? In either case, he rolls a few more times in frustration and hits a green. But then he complains about how long it took. He spent more time watching you and complaining than actually playing. Meanwhile, you've hit your green streak. It's so much easier for you. He tells himself, you get greens every time. This game is rigged, so what's the point? He quits. So, who got the die with 20 sides and who got the die with 200 sides? If you get this game, then you see that once you roll enough times, the die that you're given doesn't matter. The die with fewer sides might roll green sooner. The die with more sides might roll green later. But a die with a green side always has a chance of rolling green, if you roll it. And every die hits its green streak when rolled enough times. All of us get a many-sided die. And looking at other players, you have no idea whether it's their 100th roll or their 1000th roll. You don't know how good other players are when they start. You can only see what they do now. But if you understand the game, you also know that it doesn't matter. A few begin playing early and others begin playing much later. And the rest sit on the sidelines complaining about how lucky the other players are. I guess so, but they're luckier because they play. And when they hit red, which they do, they didn't quit. They rolled again. Learning reselling and becoming a profitable business is very much like this dice theory. You don't know if it'll work until you actually try. And when you start selling, you're probably going to hit red on your first few rolls. But if you try enough times, eventually you're going to hit green. And when it does work, you have a better chance of getting it to work again. The more you do it, the easier that it gets. You begin to understand the game. No matter how many players there are or how many sides are on the die that you're given, you only start to see two guarantees. One, the more times you roll, the better you'll get. And number two, if you quit, you'll lose. But you cannot lose if you do not quit. Next up is that your comfort will cost you your goals. Comfort can be the best and the worst thing in the world, especially when it comes to a reselling business. And at the same time, what you want and what you need to do to get it may also cost you your comfort. You may want to say, I want to do Y, and then insert whatever that is for you. So then somebody gives you the answer and says, okay, then you need to do X. And then you may say, well, I don't want to do X. Most resellers want two things that contradict each other. I have a question for you. I want you to imagine that there are two different businesses. Both gross $200,000 per year and both net $100,000 per year. Which business do you want? You're obviously saying, well, Kaylee, I need more information. And so I'll give you more. What if I told you that in business number one, the business owner worked 60 hours a week, had 100-ish steps in their day, and they were always stressed. And then business number two, the business owner works 30 hours a week, has a 5-step process every day, and has no problem managing the workflow. Which business owner would you want to be? All of us are going to choose business number two, right? So tell me why most resellers pick business number one. Unfortunately, most resellers are picking business number one because they refuse to do the steps that it takes to get to business number two. What you want is probably on the other side of comfort. Next up, this one was so huge for me. It is to only make changes that are going to significantly, keyword significantly, impact your life or your business. Any purchase, any time investment, do not make a change unless it significantly changes everything for the better. Oftentimes, I find that resellers are trying to reinvent the wheel instead of doing what actually makes the money, which is turning the wheel. When you're faced with a new idea, ask yourself, is this going to significantly improve my business? Because if it's not, then it's just noise and it's one more step and complication that you're putting in between yourself and your goals. Next up is quick decision making. Dwelling on things is probably costing you your business and you need to take more action. The amount of time that you're thinking, contemplating, reflecting, envisioning is the same amount of time that someone else is actually doing it and will likely already have tested it out, learned the right way to do it, and became an expert. or they use the previous tip and they decided that it doesn't actually make a significant impact in their business, so they didn't waste any more time thinking about it. I said this in my last video in kind of a different way, but we spend more time collecting new ideas than we do actually working on our business. And so quick decision making in our business can help us to get things done. And lastly are some statistics and strategies that I came across recently. If you do these 3 things, you will significantly increase your chances of actually completing what you set out to do. Writing your goal alone increases your likelihood of completion to 42%. Just from writing the goal down. 2, having an accountability partner increases your success rate to 65%, meaning you're telling somebody else what your goals are. And lastly, and this one is huge, so important, reporting progress regularly increases your chances to 95%. So for writing down our goals, we're telling somebody about our goals, and then we are regularly reporting on our progress, you're like almost 100% going to do it. Using hacks like these regarding psychology and action is a great way to essentially trick yourself into doing whatever it is that you need to do. That number blew my mind. But honestly, it makes so much sense because one of the things I talked about in part 1 was that you really need to pull and analyze your numbers, which is a way of reporting progress and checking on your progress. It makes so much sense because if you're not tracking what's actually going on in your business, then you don't know if you're doing well or if you're doing poorly. Only by knowing, focusing on a goal, and tracking the progress of that goal can you know that you're headed in the right direction. If you made it to the end of this video, I have a special offer for you if you'd like to apply what you've learned today. Myself and 3 other top performing resellers created a mentorship group called Resellers Edge University, where we cover all things reselling and help you sidestep all of the fluff. Inside of our pro membership, you'll find all of the shortcuts to growing your businesses using proven strategies that actually move the needle. Our goal is to help you make more money in less time. You'll have access to 4 mentors plus find accountability amongst other goal-minded resellers in the group. We're already making huge impacts on resellers who decided it was time to move their businesses forward. For a limited time only, take advantage of our Black Friday sale and get 50% off of your first month in our mentorship program. Link and coupon code will be down below. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. I hope that you will make true progress in your business, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.